Good news, everybody! According to Republicans themselves, there is nothing wrong with JD Vance, and he has, of course, been nothing but a huge benefit to the Republican ticket this year. And, for the record, Republicans also say that he has not made any missteps since joining the Trump ticket. It's all been perfect, smooth sailing through calm seas with JD Vance, according to these delusional Republicans. Now, let me start by reminding people of the obvious. We have seen clips resurface of JD Vance where he has said that hunger is a great motivator for people to get to work. He has attacked people who do not have children in repeated interviews over the years that have been resurfaced. He can't buy donuts like a normal person, something that, by the way, Tim Walz actually mocked this week by going in and buying donuts like a regular human being. And that's just mostly stuff from the past, other than the donut issue. But yeah, there have been a lot of missteps by JD Vance that are actually, I guess we should classify those as missteps by the campaign, because they should have properly vetted this guy. And for the record, let's still not forget the fact that the media was leaked the vetting material that the Trump campaign had on JD Vance, but they're refusing to publish it. 2016, they didn't hesitate to publish those hacked DNC emails, but just the vetting information on JD Vance from the Trump campaign, oh God, that's off limits. No, dear, we're not going to do that. But as I said, Republicans are completely in denial about how horrible JD Vance has been. Let me read you this from Amanda Marcotti at Salon.com. Despite early speculation that Trump would, quote, regret picking Vance, the New York Times reports that Trump could not be happier and, quote, has privately praised Mr. Vance by comparing himself to Vince Lombardi, telling people that his eye for political talent was now on par with the Hall of Fame football coach. In the same article, Senator Steve Daines of Montana, who oversees Republican Senate campaigns, says Vance has, quote, really been very impressive. Rich Lowry of the National Review agreed on CNN, saying, quote, he has proven tireless, fearless, really effective spokesman for this ticket. As far as I can tell, Vance had not had one misstep. Not one. Apparently, everything JD Vance touches turns to gold for the Trump campaign, which is really weird when you consider the fact that when he joined the presidential campaign, he had like a -4 approval rating, so a net negative of 4 points. And today, after being on the campaign for, maybe 2-ish months here, he has a net negative 12 approval rating. 12! That is worse. He is now officially the least popular running mate for Republicans ever in my lifetime. And that's a lifetime that includes running mates such as Dan Quayle for Republicans, Dick Cheney for Republicans, and let's not forget Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin was more popular as John McCain's running mate than JD Vance is for Donald Trump. Okay, that's a big problem. But the problem gets even worse when you look at the Democratic side, because as JD Vance has a net negative 12 approval rating, Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's running mate, has a plus 11 point approval rating, meaning he is seen as positive by most people in this country, whereas JD Vance is seen as a negative. And I already mentioned all the past missteps of JD Vance, right? But has he said anything crazy recently? Well, I'm glad I asked that question on your behalf, because yes, he did. Here is a clip of JD Vance talking to Charlie Kirk about how people can afford childcare by simply just making their family members watch their kids. Here it is.
What can we do about lowering the cost of daycare? Hayden, obviously a working family, and it's very hard for working families to get by. How will we lower the cost of daycare?
Such an important question, Charlie. And I think one of the things that we can do is make it easier for family models to choose, or for families to choose whatever model they want, right? So one of the ways that you might be able to relieve a little bit of pressure on people who are paying so much for daycare is make it so that maybe like grandma or grandpa wants to help out a little bit more. Or maybe there's an aunt or uncle that wants to help out a little bit more. If that happens, you relieve some of the pressure on all the resources that we're spending in daycare. Now, you talk about just daycare. Let's say you don't have somebody who can provide that extra set of hands. What we've got to do is actually empower people to get trained in the skills that they need for the 21st century. We've got a lot of people who love kids, who would love to take care of kids, but they can't, either because they don't have access to the education that they need, or maybe more importantly, because the state government says you're not allowed to take care of children unless you have some ridiculous certification that has nothing to do with taking care of kids. So empower people to get the skills they need. Don't force every early child care specialist to go and get a 6-year college degree where they've got a whole lot of debt and Americans are much poorer because they're paying out the wazoo for daycare. Empower working families, empower people who want to do these things for a living, and that's what we got to do.
All right,
Now, of course, in that segment, JD Vance does start off saying, hey, just have your parents watch your kids for you. Maybe you got an aunt or an uncle or a good family friend. Like, come over and watch my kids for 8 hours, 5 days a week, and not get paid for it. But then he goes into the really weird part, because he admits, of course, thank God, obviously, most people don't have that option. So what we do instead, this idiot says, is let's have more people become child caregivers. Do you think the reason people can't afford childcare is just because there's not people working in the childcare industry? That's an insanely stupid thing to say, not to mention the fact that we're not talking about K through 12 education. We're not even talking about pre-K education. We're talking about the people that work in daycare centers, starting with infants, basically. Guess what? In most states across the country, if not all of them, you don't actually have to have any qualifications. So I don't know what Vance is even talking about. Like, why do you need a 6-year degree? You don't. I don't know of any state where even a 4-year degree is required to work at a daycare. Now, if you want to teach the pre-K, which of course is subsidized because it's part of public education, there are different requirements for that. Sure. The problem is not that there's not enough people working in the industry. The problem is the cost of it. It becomes cost prohibitive when both parents go to work and one parent's entire salary has to go to childcare. It's a wash at that point. That's the issue, JD. And you don't seem to understand that. You think the solution is let's just hire more people. And that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So you know what? I am going to go ahead and categorize that as a giant misstep. And Republicans are going to keep living in denial, pretending that this brain-dead moron is somehow just the best possible pick. Vance added nothing to the ticket. Not a thing. He is no different from Donald Trump. But what he did do, of course, was cause a lot of people to turn away from the campaign. Trump's poll numbers, and it's not just because of JD Vance, but it is worth pointing this out, Trump's poll numbers since picking JD Vance have gone down in every poll. He has not gained any ground with any voting demographic at all since picking JD Vance. And he has lost ground on who the public trusts to handle the important issues. So he's lost ground in every possible way, in every possible poll since picking JD Vance. And these Republicans are still telling us, hey, this is the greatest decision ever. And it sure is, if you want Donald Trump to lose, which I do, so I'm perfectly fine with this pick. America's Lawyer has launched its own YouTube channel. Now, this channel, of course, is still in its early phases of development, but you can help grow it by subscribing. Just go to youtube.com/TheAmericasLawyer, and you'll get all of the great content from Mike Papantonio and myself that we produce every single week.